Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Thanks so much for tuning in. Up ahead, we'll get you all the very latest. The latest vaccine policy announced by the Prime Minister. Uddhav Thackeray will be meeting the Prime Minister in Delhi this morning. Also, Apple's new announcement. Let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces that the centre would provide vaccines free of charge to all above 18 years of age from the 21st of June and will take back control of vaccination from states. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray to meet the Prime Minister this morning in Delhi, ostensibly on the Maratha quota and vaccine issues. He will address the media after. With high positivity rate, the Kerala lockdown is extended till the 16th of June. Banks to open on alternate days, while the weekend will be a complete lockdown. The Delhi government is carrying out door-to-door surveys to identify those over 45 years who haven't got the jab. They will be asked to visit their polling booths for the shots. It's the third day when the Bihar government hasn't been able to supply the antifungal injection for hundreds of patients suffering from mucormycosis or black fungus in Patna. Fugitive Mehul Choksi's bail plea to be heard by the Dominica High Court today. He claims he didn't enter Dominica illegally. Instead, he was kidnapped from Antigua into Dominica. And at Apple's annual Worldwide Developers Conference, the tech giant unveils software updates. Video calling service FaceTime will add new features to take on Zoom. Our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced that the centre would provide vaccines free of charge to all above 18 years from the 21st of June and would be taking back control of the vaccinations from states, reversing a policy change that was enforced just about a month ago. This after criticism from all states and questioning by the Supreme Court that is conducting a hearing on the vaccination drive. Now, the centre will buy 75% of the vaccines produced by companies, including 25% assigned to states. Private hospitals will continue to buy the remaining 25% and inoculate those who are willing to pay for their jabs. They can't, however, charge more than 150 rupees as a service charge per dose over the fixed price of the vaccine.
21 जून सोमवार से देश के हर राज्य में 18 वर्ष से ऊपर की उम्र के सभी नागरिकों के लिए भारत सरकार राज्यों को मुफ्त वैक्सीन मुहैया कराएगी। वैक्सीन निर्माताओं से कुल वैक्सीन उत्पादन का 75% हिस्सा भारत सरकार खुद ही खरीदकर राज्य सरकारों को मुफ्त देगी। कई राज्य सरकारों ने फिर कहा कि वैक्सीन का काम डिसेंट्रलाइज किया जाए और राज्यों पर छोड़ दिया जाए। तरह तरह के स्वर उठे, जैसे कि वैक्सीनेशन के लिए एज ग्रुप क्यों बनाए गए। हमने सोचा कि राज्य ये मांग कर रहे हैं, उनका उत्साह है, तो चलो भाई 25% का काम उन्हीं को सुपुर्द कर दिया जाए। पूरी दुनिया में वैक्सीन की क्या स्थिति है, इसकी सच्चाई से भी राज्य परिचित हुए। एक तरफ मई में सेकेंड वेव, दूसरी तरफ वैक्सीन के लिए लोगों का बढ़ता रुझान। मई में 2 सप्ताह बीतते बीतते कुछ राज्य खुले मन से ये कहने लगे कि पहले वाली व्यवस्था ही अच्छी थी।
Now, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal launched a door-to-door survey to vaccinate people above 45 years of age at their polling booths after the number of people to get jabs at the vaccination centres plunged. Arvind Kejriwal claims if he has enough supply, he will be able to vaccinate everyone above 45 years in Delhi within 4 weeks.
अब दिक्कत ये आ रही है कि जितने हमने दिल्ली में वैक्सीनेशन सेंटर्स खोले हैं 45 साल से ऊपर की उम्र के लोग, उसमें बहुत कम आ रहे हैं अपने से। उसके मद्देनजर ये तय किया गया कि लोगों की इंतजार किए बिना अब हमें लोगों तक जाना पड़ेगा।
The goal is to vaccinate 30 lakh people in 30 days. To do this, the Delhi government will be banking on one of India's greatest success stories, its election machinery.
आज जिन 70 वार्ड्स के अंदर इसकी शुरुआत की जा रही है, आज पहला दिन है, उन 70 वार्ड्स के बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर्स की ट्रेनिंग की जा रही है। ये बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर्स अगले 2 दिन तक अपने अपने बूथ में हर घर में जाएंगे, हर घर में जाके उनसे पूछेंगे आपके घर में 45 साल से ऊपर की उम्र के कौन है। अगर उन्हें वैक्सीन नहीं लगाए तो वो उन्हें वैक्सीनेशन लगवाने का स्लॉट दे के आएंगे।
Only 15% of Delhi's 45 plus population has been fully vaccinated so far. Vaccination for the 18 to 44 age group has already been on hold at government centers for over 2 weeks due to shortage of vaccine stock.
मेरे ख्याल से तो बहुत अच्छा डिसीजन लिया जिन्होंने, क्योंकि मैंने 2-4 दिन पहले सुना भी था किसी स्टेट में शायद लोग वैक्सीनेशन ना लगाने की वजह से छुप रहे हैं, घर में बाहर छुप रहे हैं या नदी में कूद जा रहे हैं। लोगों को समझाना चाहिए कि वैक्सीनेशन का मेरा गुजारा नहीं है, और जो उन्होंने 70 वार्ड वाली बात कही वो भी बहुत अच्छी बात है।
The Delhi government has said that it will follow the same initiative for the 18 to 44 age group as well once it has enough doses for them. In New Delhi with camera person Manu Nair, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Now, with the lockdown in place and what is hopefully the slowing down of the second wave, the number of new cases in Bengaluru has been reducing, but what is worrying is the case fatality rate, which is high.
Ramesh was just 42 years old. He was hospitalized after testing positive for COVID. Spent time in the ICU, but with severe lung damage, he could not survive. He leaves a wife and a 7-year-old son.
ಡ್ರೈವಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಲಾಕ್ಡೌನ್ ಆದಾಗಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಕೋವಿಡ್-19 ಬಂದು 70 ಡೇಸು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜಯದೇವದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ಮಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಈಗ ಗುರುವಾರ 12:30 ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು.
While the vast majority of COVID patients recover, each death is heartbreak. The case fatality rate in Bengaluru, in data released on Sunday, was 7.71% compared to the 2.62% overall in Karnataka. 187 deaths were recorded. Although the BBMP chief reiterates, the deaths recorded on one day may not all have happened on one day.
If you see the health bulletin which is issued by the state government every day, these numbers are pertaining to deaths that have happened 20, 30, 40 days back. Kindly draw your own conclusions based on that.
As the total number of cases are going down, the denominator tends to change. So that is what is leading to a rise in the ratio.
Also, with the number of cases in the city coming down and death numbers not coming down at the same rate, the ratio of deaths to cases is higher.
Since the number of positive cases are reducing, and the people who were admitted earlier, they were in ICU and all other facilities. So they have been in hospital admitted for past more than 15 days, 20 days. These cases, we are seeing more fatality. They were in ventilators, who are in ICU. Their demise or the deaths is increasing the case fatality rate.
Case numbers are coming down, but the number of cumulative deaths in the city of Bengaluru has more than doubled in the last 1 month. Each death leaving grief in its wake for the loved ones of those lost to the virus. With Kumar and Govind, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Well, this week, many states in India have started unlocking after the deadly second wave and after lockdowns were put in place to bring down the numbers. Delhi, Mumbai, Tamil Nadu all began easing lockdowns from Monday. Parts of India have begun cautiously resuming activities that were stopped about 2 months ago. In Delhi, shops and malls, markets opened with restrictions in place. The Delhi Metro resumed with 50% seating capacity. And in Maharashtra, there's a 5-level plan to ease restrictions. In Mumbai is unlocking, but without local train services, that is a challenge in itself. In Tamil Nadu, separate relaxations for 11 hotspot districts and the rest of the state. So as Mumbai unlocks, many teething problems as far as commuting is concerned. Overcrowding is still a huge challenge, and shutting everything by 5 p.m. is looking very difficult, especially if it's taking people 3 to 4 hours to return home. NDTV's Purva reports.
Little social distancing, but mostly masks. as the government allowed offices to reopen after 8 weeks but only for half their workforce. Mumbai's second wave saw a positivity rate as high as 20%, with daily cases crossing 10,000 per day at one point. On day 1, Salim found the going hard. A 45-minute commute was taking him 3 hours at least, as local trains remained banned.
नॉर्मल ट्रेन से ही जाता हूँ।
बस में कितना फर्क है, फिर कितने घंटे का फर्क है?
2-2.5 घंटे का फर्क हो जाता है। 2 जगह लाइन बदली करना पड़ता है। मान खुद से यहाँ लेके आओ, यहाँ से फिर यहाँ बदली करो।
Similar is the case of Mahadev Kadam, who started his journey from Diva on the outskirts of Mumbai at around 8 a.m. and could only reach halfway till Sion by noon.
लेकिन जाके क्या काम करेगा वो लोग, क्या हमको देगा? अभी तक पगार नहीं, कुछ नहीं, हम लोग ऐसा ही है।
More time means more cost. As 56-year-old Jaideep Thakkar calculated while changing 3 buses instead of 1 train. He believes those who took vaccine should be allowed to use the train.
पहले महीने के पास 130 रुपए के पास था, अभी पास का खर्चा तो है ही नहीं, रेलवे तो सस्ता पड़ता है, बस में करीबन 1300 रुपए खर्चा आता है महीने का।
Along with shops, salons, restaurants, hotels are also allowed to remain open but till 4 p.m. only. Their main business happens during evenings.
Practically what I see is we've been affected by our business by more than 60 to 70%.
Saturday, Sundays we are not working. So again there is an issue because of that as well. Because Saturday, Sunday is the main peak time for us to earn basically. We'll be suffering, we'll be just getting 35% of the revenue.
Although the crowds were leaner, some people were glad to come out and shop.
As Mumbai prepares to unlock itself, there are still some teething problems as far as commute is concerned, and avoiding overcrowding is still a concern. And if everything has to be shut by 5 p.m, it looks difficult, especially if people are taking 3 to 4 hours to reach their destinations. In Mumbai with Sohit Mishra and camera person Rajendra Dahalkar and Praveen G. Rohit, this is Purva Chitnis for NDTV.
And in Delhi, shops in malls, markets, market complexes, standalone shops and neighborhood shops open with restrictions of odd, even and timings. The Delhi Metro, which was suspended since the 10th of May, also resumed with 50% capacity, while neighbouring Haryana extended the COVID curbs till the 14th of June. The state announced easing of curbs. Malls, hotels, bars can reopen with restrictions.
The Delhi Metro resuming after the 10th of May at 50% capacity.
As you can see in this entire metro right now, all of the coaches are full, but in a manner where social distancing is being maintained at all points. People are seated on alternate seats. Nobody is allowed to stand inside the metro. Only 10 to 15% of the DMRC's total trains are in use at this point of time. The frequency of the trains has definitely been affected.
मेट्रो शुरू होने से तो बहुत राहत मिली है। पहले क्या था कि बस चल रही थी, पास नहीं था, तो जाना भी नहीं हो रहा था टूटी। बस से तो ट्रैफिक मिल जाता था कभी-कभी, तो इससे तो बहुत जल्दी मिल जाता है और अब राहत ही राहत है। लोग सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग है।
In Delhi, markets reopened on an odd-even basis, but not many shoppers were to be seen in Sarojini Nagar market in South Delhi.
काउंटलेंस है, वो तो सब चीज़ें काउंटलेंस है। खुद रैलियां कर रहे थे, हमें घर बिठा दिया था जब हमारे काम का टाइम था। अब जून के महीने में, गर्मी के महीने में हमें दुकानें खोलने के लिए कहा गया।
The malls fared better with more shoppers at the Select City Mall in South Delhi.
Even if you're going to local markets, I think sanitization there is definitely not at par with what the malls are taking care of.
Even with regard to the air conditioning that is there, as per the CPWD guidelines, the air conditioning of the mall is going to be maintained.
Relaxations announced by the Haryana government, especially the odd-even scheme, has left shopkeepers confused.
odd-even का कोई चक्कर ही नहीं होना चाहिए, या तो पूरा बंद कर दो।
Restaurant and pub owners in Gurugram are relieved.
So, for example, Spectra, the restaurant we are in, is operational from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. The rooms are operational when a celebration of 21 people may happen around wedding, or if it is another meeting, say a corporate meeting, up to 50 people is also permissible.
With shops, construction businesses, malls, hotels and metro services reopening, India is now unlocking in a phased manner. But with social distancing still a challenge, how strictly will these new guidelines be implemented and followed remains a question. With my colleague Sukirti Dwivedi in Delhi and camera person Rakesh Singh in Gurgaon, Shonakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
And the lockdown was extended in Tamil Nadu, where separate rules were announced for the 11 hotspot districts and the rest of the state.
Mohammed is happy that he could reopen his stationery shop in Chennai after 4 weeks of lockdown. The business had already taken a hit with no schools for more than a year. The total shutdown made it worse.
ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு சார். ஏன்னா வாழ்வாதாரம் ரொம்ப இந்த கொரோனா டைம்ல ரொம்ப பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கோம். இப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் இன்னைக்கு அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணால இன்னில இருந்து ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண கொஞ்சம் சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு.
At this standalone supermarket in Chennai, customers are walking in after nearly a month. Shankar says he still had to pay rent and salaries that add up to 2 lakh rupees.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. More than 50% loss it last 15 days. Yes, sir. Now the time is good compared with the last 15 days.
To help the poor earn their livelihood, the state government has permitted roadside vendors like Devi who sells flowers. Standalone hardware and electrical shops, workshops as well as self-employed electricians, carpenters and housekeeping staff can hope to earn again. Taxis and autos are also back.
நாலு பேர் போல கடை வச்சுக்கணும், ஒரு 10 ரூபாய் கடைக்கிட்ட, ஒரு கிலோ அரிசி வாங்கிச்சுன்னா 10 ரூபாய் கடைக்கிட்டுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு கஷ்டப்பட்டு இன்னைக்கு தான் கடவுளேன்ட்டு வாங்கிட்டு வந்த பூ ஒரு 2-3 மாலை விற்றுது.
Tamil Nadu's daily tally has dipped from 38,000 in mid-May to around 20,000 now. But the big worry, 11 hotspot districts including Coimbatore, where numbers are still rising and more restrictions are in place. With export industries permitted to operate there amid fears of spike, it's a tightrope walk for the new government, trying to save both lives and livelihood. In Chennai with Shah Vijay, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
And in neighbouring Kerala, with numbers still high and the positivity rate extremely high, the lockdown was extended till the 16th of June, while the 12th and 13th of June, that's the weekend, will be a strict complete lockdown. Essential shops will be allowed to function and banks will open on alternate days. Stationery, jewellery, footwear, textile, optical shops will be allowed to open only on June 11th from 7 in the morning to 7 p.m. Government offices, PSUs, local bodies are being allowed to function from June 17th with 50% of staff. Vehicle showrooms can only open maintenance on June 11th. No sales are being allowed just yet. News now from Bihar, and black fungus cases or mucormycosis cases are spiking in the state. The state government, however, has not sent supplies of the antifungal injection for over 300 patients who are admitted in different hospitals of Patna for 2 straight days. With supplies for Saturday also being patchy, the hospitals in the state are running short of amphotericin B injection, the most effective treatment for mucormycosis. The state government, however, has assured that the supply will resume from today.
हमारे यहाँ सरकार से मेडिसिन हम लोग को मिलता था हमेशा 400 लगभग 400-500 वायल लाइपोसोमल एम्फोटेरिसिन भी मिलता था, लेकिन परसों हम लोग को 200 वायल मिला और कल मिला ही नहीं। तो थोड़ी परेशानी तो हुई, मरीजों को, हम लोग को भी परेशानी हुई, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ भी लगभग 117 मरीज हैं म्यूकोरमाइकोसिस के। लगभग 550 वायल पर डे हम लोग को चाहिए, क्योंकि मरीज रोज आ ही रहे हमारे यहाँ, रोज नए मरीज भर्ती भी हो रहे हैं।
Maharashtra's Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi today morning, ostensibly to discuss issues like Maratha and OBC reservation and Cyclone Taukte relief measures, as well as the vaccination drive. The Maharashtra Chief Minister is expected to reach Delhi at around 9 this morning with a delegation. He is expected to then brief the media on his meeting with the Prime Minister, which is scheduled at 11 o'clock, along with his senior ministers of the Maharashtra government. He will be briefing the media after 11. Welcome back. Well, let's now focus on the vaccination drive. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday announced that the centre will be providing vaccines free of charge to all above 18 years of age from the 21st of June and will take back control of vaccination from states, reversing a policy change that was enforced just about a month ago. This after criticism from states and questioning by the Supreme Court as well on the vaccination drive. The Supreme Court is conducting a hearing. Now, the centre will buy 75% of vaccines produced by companies, including 25% assigned to states. Private hospitals will continue to buy the remaining 25% and inoculate those willing to pay for the jabs. They can't, however, charge more than 150 rupees as service charge per dose over the fixed price. So that's as far as the vaccination drive goes, and hopefully the supply issues will be sorted soon. That is what the centre has promised. But over 5 months into the COVID vaccination program, many states are still battling various issues, infrastructural issues, hesitancy. There's a digital divide as well as far as rural India goes. To talk more about this, we're joined by Poonam Mutreja, Executive Director, Population Foundation of India, and Dr. Yusuf Kumble, Founder and Chairman, Indiana Hospital and Heart Institute, Mangalore. Thank you so much both for joining us. Ms. Mutreja, first I'd like to start with you. In your view, what are the huge challenges that you've seen in India's vaccination drive so far? Just now on our screens, we're showing a visual of an elderly woman who actually went and hid behind a drum when she heard that healthcare workers had arrived in the village to provide vaccines, and then she's spoken to by them and, enticed to come out from behind the drum and, talked about building confidence about the vaccine. But tell us, what are the challenges you've seen?
So while supply, I'm going to separate the issue of government policy in supply and focus, as you have said, on what are the challenges in the community. First of all, there has always been vaccine hesitancy in India. But in the case of COVID vaccination, there is a fear. In fact, it's not just hesitation, is putting it mildly. There is a huge fear. There are myths, misconception around vaccination. So it's going to be a huge challenge for us to vaccinate and convince large numbers of people in India. We need a vaccination community involvement. We need to do it at a district, block and village level. There is nobody who has the in the public health system that is going to be able to convince the community other than frontline health workers, panchayats, and we have to make the frontline workers understand. So we have to communicate. We need a big communication strategy that works at the local level. Finally, unless there is even in the distribution, decentralization and micro planning, we can learn from smallpox and polio vaccines. It was very tough even then, but given the myths and misconceptions, we'll have to break those. Then the whole issue of doing it through this COVID, given the digital divide, which you also mentioned, there is no way people are in the villages and small towns and even in larger cities who do not have access to smartphones, and even if they have access to smartphones, they're not going to be able to use it. So what we are hearing, these anecdotal incidents, is much bigger when you see it at the village level, and it cuts across India. We are getting field reports that there are different myths and misconceptions. Some places they say poison is being filled in these. Some people believe there is no COVID in their village, or they don't have COVID, so why should they take a vaccination? And finally, when people go to far off distance places, very few will, given the vaccine hesitancy and aversion. When they go and they find vaccines aren't available, the word spreads. The poor cannot afford the luxury of hiring vehicles and going for vaccination. So another challenge is to have vaccination close to the people. There are 140,000 sub-centers in India. We need to use those. We need to have mobile vans going across And thirdly, we need to do this in a firefighting mode. We cannot afford the luxury of waiting for policies to be, politics to be played. And politics is another problem. Unless the government, I'm talking about all governments, recognize what the real problem is, they are not, if you don't diagnose the issue properly, you're not going to have solution. And the politicians doing blame game instead of thinking how to
absolutely. Everybody needs to work together. The center, the states, as you spoke, the local governments, Anganwadi workers, we're getting reports of them being attacked when they're trying to go out and create awareness about the vaccine. Dr. Yusuf, if you could tell us about, the issues that you see ahead, relief with the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday that the center is going to take charge once again and provide the vaccines to all states for free, and it's going to be free now for the people. So now going forward, we need to concentrate on how to, vaccinate as many people in a short time, given that now the cases are coming down. We lost the chance between the first and second wave. Hopefully, we won't lose the chance now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. Actually, there was a problem earlier available to the vaccine. Now the bigger challenge is going to become there may be available, more vaccine may be available. Even government is, yesterday, Prime Minister of India had a very welcome announcement that this will be free for the people. So the second challenge will be really how to make 60 to 70% of the Indian population inoculated within a specific period of 6 months to 8 months. So the bigger challenge, as Madam has mentioned, is many. One is awareness. Second one is how to execute it. So we should have organized solutions for this. Not only we have to involve the community leaders, the ASHA workers, doctors, and make the awareness camp. Then only you have to approach for the vaccination drive. So instead, the ASHA worker directly go for vaccination drive. They may be, because of all this social media, negative news, negative propaganda, they may be scared. And it is a genuine scare also. It's not only in the villages, it is even in the cities, even in the educated people. Forget about educated people. Even among doctors. Initially, many of our doctors thought that, let us wait. There may be some side effect. Let us wait. Let other people get the jab first. So, the awareness is the first before we go for a vaccination. Once people are more aware of vaccination, then you take the second step, how to reach the door to door, rather than, as Madam rightly said, our net system, our primary care system and all, it will not help at all for the village people to reach to the primary center. So better we have to have a vehicle and go door to door step. Third, most importantly, what we can think of, some incentives giving to the vaccine receivers, like in the form of they can move wherever they want without any RT-PCR, or they can get some other form of incentive. And not only for the vaccine receivers, also those who are driving the drive, that also we can. And lastly, we should have some sort of a positive propaganda about the vaccine by all the film stars, as well as the sports stars, as well as politicians, as all the important figures in the India. And lastly, I also want to mention that, see, we are always making a negative propaganda. We can also make some sort of a positive propaganda in the form of, if you do not get vaccine, and you may lose your ration card. Something like that. Somebody is propaganda is going on.
I don't know if we can actually, have.
We cannot do that actually.
Have something as drastic as that. There were, certain reports from Madhya Pradesh, from elsewhere, that people were being told you can't open your shops if you're not vaccinated. But instead of a negative or a punishment sort of a thing, is there some way we can entice more people? Now, I know in the United States, they're offering free beer, they're offering, free lunches, they're offering even $1 million lottery is on offer to, get more and more people to get vaccinated. I'm not saying we can do that exactly. But Ms. Mutreja, is there some way we can, create some sort of a positive, steps around the vaccinations, entice more people to get vaccinated? I don't know how that will work or what the, laws exactly would be around that, but we definitely need to think out of the box to get more people to come and get vaccinated.
Right, I totally agree with you. But first, I want to say disincentives should not be on the table and should not be an option, because along with the fear that people already have an aversion, this will add to further reinforcing their anger, their fear, and so on. So disincentives is something we should oppose and not think about. As far as incentive goes,
incentive in a sense, some sort of, rewards that could be something acceptable. I'm not saying give any sort of punishments or anything if you don't get vaccinated, but if you get vaccinated, is there something we could think of, anything that, could create some more excitement around getting the vaccine?
Yes, we should be thinking of something exciting, and we should be thinking of, greater money, let's say improving the Anganwadi of a place where everybody gets vaccinated, people get free cooked food. At this point of time, cooked food or food in general, given that poverty levels have gone down, given there's a shortage of incomes, it would help, but it cannot be done in isolation. First, we have to work on creating an atmosphere of making people realize the need for the vaccination to protect them, their children. For instance, we should open schools where everybody in the community gets vaccinated. We should open schools for their children. We should do, there are lots of interesting ideas. In fact, NDTV should put out a competition of ideas that people can come out with for doing so. But in isolation, incentive, whether it's food or anything else, won't work. A activist, a public health expert, went to a Bhil tribal area near Chittorgarh just this week and gave dry rations, and he made the mistake of, as he put it, raising the vaccine issue and getting vaccination done. Do you know that the Bhil, very poor communities, were starving right now? It's offered to return the food, the dry rations, if he talked about, and he's a doctor himself. Right. The point here I'm making is, let's take this vaccine aversion very seriously.
No, absolutely.
And the reasons for it, and I'm sure we can overcome, like we did in polio. There were certain communities that did not believe, they believed in the myth that vaccine was going to sterilize them and their children. So Muslim leaders, including film stars like Javed Akhtar, I remember 25 years ago, went to UP, spoke to the community, spoke in people like him who are atheists, went to the masjid and on loudspeakers spoke to people, and look at the success we've had with vaccine.
Right,
and
that's very interesting, and clearly we need this out of the box thinking, because Dr. Yusuf Kumble, we're just about getting through with the second wave. The cases are still over 1 lakh a day, but we're already talking about the third wave, and the only way we can prevent a third wave is if we cover enough people, inoculate enough people. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm thinking, there is no time now. Actually, it is a time-bound vaccination program we should have. It is not like our regular polio vaccine or other vaccine program where you have adequate time to inoculate the maximum children. Here, the problem is the time is short.
That's
and
right.
We have to do out-of-box ideas to inoculate the maximum people in the shortest period.
Well,
so our infrastructure is poor. We know that our infrastructure is poor. But can we make our infrastructure within 6 months? Is it possible? No. So definitely incentives is one of the ideas, and whatever possible infrastructure we have to improve, that should be improved within short period.
No, absolutely. And now that the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday, the centre taking over the vaccination drive, ensuring that they will supply the vaccines to the states. Hopefully, we can put all the politics aside, Poonam Mutreja, as you said, and really just concentrate on inoculating as many people in shorter time. Because let's face it, if we don't do that, the virus is still circulating in our population. It's reached various parts of rural India, and it's going to come back in a big way if we don't do this in time. Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf Kumble and Poonam Mutreja for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, vaccinations for the specially abled is one of the most important challenges. According to experts, children will also be hit in the third wave of the pandemic. Hospitals like R.N. Tagore International Institute of Cardiac Sciences is stepping to vaccinate the most vulnerable.
Thank you.
Thank you for what, if I can ask you?
Vaccine.
Thank you for the?
Vaccine.
You're happy to get the vaccine?
Yes.
Vaccinations in India have been a challenge because of the shortage in supply. And for the specially abled, it's an added worry. Dr. Rajiv Ghoshal says bringing his child to a special vaccination drive for specially abled children was helpful.
Differently abled kids are more prone to get COVID-19 than a normal kid. That is what research says. So it is all the more important. And it's a great gesture by both Pradeep School as well as Rabindranath Tagore Hospital to get them vaccinated en masse at one place.
Special arrangements were made on Sunday for the vaccination process in familiar surroundings for these children at the Pradeep Center for Autism Management.
Yes, I have an autistic child.
How does the vaccination process go?
Well, here in Pradeep School, I am also a staff member of Pradeep School. I am a teacher in charge of Pradeep School. And my daughter has been here in this school for the last 18 years. So she is quite habituated to this environment and atmosphere. So it was not a problem to get her vaccinated in this known atmosphere also.
Dr. Devi Shetty, founder and chairman of Narayana Health, has started the initiative so that everyone has access to affordable vaccination.
We already had an initiative of Take One, Give One, as per our NH policy, which our chairman has initiated. For these children, it was very important because they are not wanting to wear masks. So to protect them was a very important initiative, and when the Pradeep Autism Center approached us for their vaccination, we were all the more happy to take this initiative and do it for them.
According to experts, the third wave of the COVID pandemic will hit children the worst. And for specially abled children who are more vulnerable, vaccination is important. And this initiative addresses that very issue. The initiative is also taking vaccination to the slums where people simply cannot afford to pay. 33-year-old Mithun Roy has been sitting at home for 3 months. He needs to return to work and was struggling to get a vaccine.
এবার হোটেল সংস্থায় কাজ করতে গেলে আমাকে তো প্রপারলি ভ্যাকসিনটাকে নিতেই হবে। তো এটা যেহেতু আমার ফার্স্ট ডোজ ছিল, সুতরাং আমার কি করতে হবে, এটা তো আমার নিতেই হবে। ওই জন্য আমাকে নিলাম, না নিলে তো আমি জয়েন করব কি করে, কেন টানা 3 মাস হয়ে গেল বসে আছি, মানে খুবই অসুবিধা হয়ে যাচ্ছে। তো তাড়াতাড়ি করে তড়িঘড়ি করে যাতে নিতে পারি ওই জন্য নিলাম। তবে এখানে এসে দেখলাম যে যেটা ভেবেছিলাম অনেক ভিড় এটা সেটা না, খুব সুষ্ঠুভাবে এরা পরিচালনা করেছে, আমার খুব ভালো লাগলো।
I am grateful to Narayana Group and R.N. Tagore Hospital that out of their CSR fund they have provided free vaccination to those who are below the poverty line, and they are here to give the free vaccination of 500 people.
Vaccination for everyone is the need of the hour, especially for those whom the vaccine might be inaccessible. And initiatives like these are ensuring that the vaccine reaches the most vulnerable sections of the population. In Kolkata with camera person G.D. Shankar, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Now to Mizoram, where amid a lockdown in a remote hilly village, young students are trekking to hilltops to catch the internet signals so they can write their online exams. Ratnadeep Chaudhary reports.
A dozen students tracking their way up a hillock, but this is no excursion. Lack of internet connectivity in their remote Maurai village in Mizoram's Saiha district, about 400 kilometers away from state capital Aizawl, has left them with no option but to trek up a hill locally called Tautla. The only spot near their village where mobile handset can catch internet signals. And that's where they write their crucial online semester examinations of Mizoram University's undergraduate programs. These makeshift bamboo huts with banana leaves on top to protect from rain have been erected on the hilltop by the locals where the students can sit and write.
The Maurai village is a small village which is located in Saiha district, and it is surrounded by hillocks as no signal within Maurai village.
The university is conducting online semester exams from 1st June for over 24,000 undergraduate students, of which 7 students are forced to write their exams perched on this hill. The village of about 1700 people, however, does have this mobile tower, which has an erratic 2G connectivity, at a time when the nation looks forward to a 5G network. In Guwahati, Ratndeep Chaudhary for NDTV.
Time for us to slip into a short break. We'll get you more news on the other side, the latest announcements from Apple. Well, first up, let's bring you the latest numbers that have been released by the Health Ministry. And after 63 days, India has reported less than 1 lakh new cases. So India reports 86,498 new cases in the last 24 hours. And the active caseload has also further declined to 13,03,702. Well, let's go across to Akshay for more on that. So Akshay, very welcome news with India finally going below the 1 lakh mark ever since the devastating second wave.
Well, yes, Gargi, in fact, this is a welcome news and a respite for our healthcare infrastructure, which has been overburdened with the number of cases that were being reported. However, we have to keep this thing in mind that still India has over 1.3 million active cases, though the number of new cases that are being reported are less than the number of recoveries for the 26th consecutive day, and we are seeing continuous active cases declining, but still our guards must be up, is what the healthcare experts have been reiterating for a very long time. Also, if you're talking about the states, then Tamil Nadu continues to be on the top, the most impacted state at this point in time with new cases, followed by Kerala and Maharashtra. But we have to look at this aspect as well, that in the first wave, the number of cases always remained below 1 lakh. And when the first wave declined, everyone thought that, COVID-19 has in fact gone from our country. But we saw how the second wave wreaked havoc across the country, and now we can though we can take some hope from the news that is coming in right now, but still our guards must be up, especially at a time when most of the states who were reporting very high cases are in the process of unlocking.
Absolutely, and now is the real test to see, how what happens next, whether the cases go up again. And you're absolutely right, Akshay, in the first wave, you never even crossed that 1 lakh mark, and that's something we need to remind everybody of the challenges ahead. Thanks so much for joining us with that. Well, the Prime Minister yesterday announced that the centre will be providing vaccines free of charge to all above 18 years of age from the 21st of June and will take back control of vaccination from states, reversing a policy change that was enforced just about a month ago. This after criticism from all states and questioning by the Supreme Court that is conducting a hearing on the vaccination drive. The centre will buy 75% of the vaccines produced by companies, including 25% assigned to states. Private hospitals will continue to buy the remaining 25% and inoculate those willing to pay for their jabs. They can't, however, charge more than 150 rupees as service charge per dose over the fixed price.
21 जून सोमवार से देश के हर राज्य में 18 वर्ष से ऊपर की उम्र के सभी नागरिकों के लिए भारत सरकार राज्यों को मुफ्त वैक्सीन मुहैया कराएगी। वैक्सीन निर्माताओं से कुल वैक्सीन उत्पादन का 75% हिस्सा भारत सरकार खुद ही खरीदकर राज्य सरकारों को मुफ्त देगी। कई राज्य सरकारों ने फिर कहा कि वैक्सीन का काम डिसेंट्रलाइज किया जाए और राज्यों पर छोड़ दिया जाए। तरह तरह के स्वर उठे, जैसे कि वैक्सीनेशन के लिए एज ग्रुप क्यों बनाए गए। हमने सोचा कि राज्य ये मांग कर रहे हैं, उनका उत्साह है, तो चलो भाई 25% का काम उन्हीं को सुपुर्द कर दिया जाए। पूरी दुनिया में वैक्सीन की क्या स्थिति है, इसकी सच्चाई से भी राज्य परिचित हुए। एक तरफ मई में सेकेंड वेव, दूसरी तरफ वैक्सीन के लिए लोगों का बढ़ता रुझान। मई में 2 सप्ताह बीतते बीतते कुछ राज्य खुले मन से ये कहने लगे कि पहले वाली व्यवस्था ही अच्छी थी.
Now, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal announced and launched a door-to-door survey to vaccinate people above 45 years of age at their polling booths. This was yesterday. This after the number of people getting the jab at vaccination centres has plunged. The Chief Minister claims if he has enough supply, he will be able to vaccinate everyone above 45 years in Delhi in 4 weeks' time. Well, let's go across to Akshay now for more. So, Akshay, today is when this door-to-door drive will begin, in which they'll go and visit people who haven't been inoculated and talk to them about it, and then eventually they will be able to come to their polling stations and get vaccinated. Take us through the details.
Well, Gargi, the entire mass inoculation program that was announced yesterday by the Delhi government is in two parts. First is to reach out to the people to provide better access of vaccines to the people, and that can be done if at a local level vaccination program can be micromanaged. The second thing is that there might be a vaccine hesitancy in a lot of areas. There are people who are not even willing to come out even if the vaccine is very near to their home. So that problem will be solved by door-to-door vaccination, where leaders and party workers as well as Delhi government officers will be making a plan on how there will be local level leaders and other people who will be going door-to-door asking people of all those above the age of 45 years old who have not in fact getting vaccinated, so they can urge them to go to the polling booths where the vaccination programs will be set up, and they can get vaccinated from there. Right now I am in Vasant Kunj. Behind me is a school where I used to vote myself, but this particular place has yet not been converted into a vaccination site. Inside there are some CRPF officials, but there is a different program that is being held, that is blood donation camp by CRPF. So this entire announcement that has been made, it will take some time to get streamlined and to be implemented on the ground. So from what I can see on the ground, though the announcement has been made, the preparation is still going on for this mass vaccination program, Gargi.
All right, Akshay, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Now, the big political story this morning, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is in Delhi to meet Prime Minister Modi. He will be meeting him at around 11 today in Delhi. He's come with a delegation ostensibly to discuss the issue of the Maratha quota as well as the vaccination drive and the cyclone relief work. Well, let's take a look at what the Maharashtra leader said ahead of this meeting.
डेलीगेशन में मुख्यमंत्री महोदय स्वयं है और उप मुख्यमंत्री जी है और मराठा आरक्षण समिति के जो उप समिति जो उसके अध्यक्ष अशोक चौहान साहब है, ये लोग कल पंतप्रधान महोदय जी से मिलेंगे.
Well, let's go across to NDTV's Sunil Prabhu now for more. And Sunil, everybody's very, this meeting is something that's being watched very closely. It'll take place this morning, ostensibly on the issue of the Maratha quota and, various other issues like vaccination drive. But the Chief Minister will hold a press conference after that meeting.
That's right, at 12 o'clock at the Maharashtra Southern. So it will definitely be, of course, an occasion for him. Please remember that it was Mr. Uddhav Thackeray who had prompted the change in policy in the first place, which now the Prime Minister is trying to blame the state. So having said that, though, this is a delegation and ostensibly, as you rightly said, on the Maratha quota issue after the Supreme Court verdict, which puts most political parties in a bind because they've all agreed that there is a need for a Maratha quota, but how do they go about it since the Supreme Court has not agreed? But nevertheless, the fact is that this will help in terms of both the Prime Minister as well as the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, an important state, to discuss the modalities of how they need to progress in terms of the vaccine implementation. As you heard from no less than the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, Mr. M.K. Stalin, that since the Prime Minister himself now has conceded that health is a state subject. Please recall that National Disaster Management Act was invoked for the center to act and control the entire COVID pandemic during the last 1.5 years. And it's in that backdrop now that since state is a health subject, Mr. M.K. Stalin, along with other chief ministers, will be saying that let us administer it, let us do it in the best way and roll it out, not the center directed, but center will be giving the money. So we'll have to wait and see, because by June 21st, that entire program has to be formulated. How they go about it is something that we'll have to wait and see. But yesterday's remarks by the Prime Minister trying to shift the blame and the focus on the state is a big cause of concern.
All right, Sunil, thanks so much for joining us. So all eyes on that meeting later today. Now, news from Kerala, where the numbers still remain worrying. The COVID numbers and the positivity rate is still high. The lockdown has been extended till the 16th of June, while the weekend will be a strict, complete lockdown. Let's go across to Sneha for more details. Sneha, tell us about the announcements, what's open, what's not, what restrictions will stay.
Well, that's right, Gargi. Well, firstly, the deaths are still high that are being recorded on a daily basis. Last on Monday that was recorded was 221 deaths. The test positivity rate is seeing a dip. But you can see there's an extended lockdown, but on the ground there's a lot of vehicles on the road. Police checking them, trying to find out whether it is only essential movement that they are part of. Many of them are being returned. This despite lockdown being extended till the 16th of June. The weekend in between would be having a complete or a stricter version of the lockdown. Now, what is open, what is closed? There was this thing about 50% of government, semi-government institutions to be allowed with 50% of employees joining them. That is only going to be allowed from 17th onwards. Banks and financial institutions are going to be allowed to open on alternate days. And certain other shops which were allowed to open on certain alternate days like textiles, stationery, jewelry, opticals, etc. will be allowed to open only on one day, and that is of 11th of June from 7 to 7, 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. But let's get a sense of what the police is facing. Sir,
ആൾക്കാർ കൂടുതലും ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ കേസെന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ അവരെ കൂട്ടിയിരിപ്പവർക്ക് ഭക്ഷണം കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്നു.
People, police saying that people who are coming are going for hospital or other necessary needs and that they are being checked. But a lot of traffic on the road today in the morning, Gargi. Back to you.
All right, Sneha, thanks so much for joining us. So the lockdown in Kerala extended. Now, news from Uttar Pradesh, and a very disturbing story. The UP government has said it will carry out an inquiry after the owner of a prominent private hospital in Agra was allegedly caught on camera bragging about how the hospital shut off oxygen supply on the 26th of April for 5 minutes in what he described as a mock drill amid what the owner purportedly claimed was an acute shortage of oxygen at his hospital. This was amid the raging COVID surge in Agra and elsewhere in Uttar Pradesh. The Paras Hospital also has a COVID facility within its premises. In a statement to the media, the Agra District Magistrate Prabhu Singh claimed there was no death due to the lack of oxygen on the day the alleged video was recorded. However, he said an inquiry would be conducted and visuals of desperate people lining up outside the oxygen plant around the state had hit headlines in April.
बॉस आप समझाओ डिस्चार्ज करना शुरू करो ऑक्सीजन कहीं नहीं है मुख्यमंत्री नहीं मंगा सकता ऑक्सीजन आपको बता दूं सिचुएशन मोदी नगर ड्राई हो गया हमारे हाथ पैर फूल गए हमने भैया फिर कुछ लोगों को व्यक्तिगत तौर पर समझाना शुरू किया भाई समझो बात कुछ लोग समझदार भी थे उसमें जो भी पेंडुलम बने रहे नहीं जाएंगे मैंने कोई नहीं जा रहा छोड़ देना मत लगाओ छोड़ो अब वो छांटो जिनकी ऑक्सीजन बंद हो सकती है जो बिल्कुल ही डेडलाइन पे है एक ट्रायल मार दो दोपहर में एक मॉक ड्रिल करके देख लो समझ जाएंगे कौन सा मिलेगा कौन सा नहीं मिलेगा सही बात है एक मॉक ड्रिल करी हमने सुबह 7 बजे मॉक ड्रिल हुई सब दोषी मंदिर ये किसी पता नहीं ये मॉक ड्रिल कराई सुन करके सबके फिर छट गए 22 मरीज तुरंत खोल दिए 22 मरीज छट गए और 22 मरेंगे और कितनी देर के लिए मॉकड्रिल करा 5 मिनट के 5 मिनट में 22 मरीज मॉकड्रिल नीले पड़ने लगे ओहो
फैक्चुअली 26 तारीख को जनपद इस पारस हॉस्पिटल में 97 जो पेशेंट भर्ती थे इसमें से 4 डेथ हुई हैं 27 तारीख को 3 कोविड डेथ हुआ है अतः जो संख्या है यह जो 22 यहाँ दिखाया जा रहा है प्राइमरली यह संख्या वैसे पेशेंट्स हैं वहाँ जो उनके क्रिटिकल है क्योंकि पारस हॉस्पिटल में आईसीयू के लिए काफ़ी उनके पास बेड्स थी और काफ़ी उनके पास आईसीयू के पेशेंट्स इस तरह के थे अतः इस बात में कि 22 लोगों की डेथ ही कोई सत्यता नहीं है लेकिन फिर भी आज जो वीडियो कुछ प्रचारित किया जा रहा है इसको ठीक से एक बार अध्ययन कर लिया जाएगा और इसमें जो भी आगे कार्रवाई वो किया जाएगा.
Well, let's go across to Alok for more on this issue. And Alok, a lot is being said, about possible deaths as well, though the administration says no deaths took place on that particular day. What can you tell us?
Well, it's quite a shocking story. So this incident, this purported incident took place on the 27th of April. And this video was allegedly recorded on the 28th, the next day. We don't know who recorded it. And also you cannot see the hospital owner in this particular video, but you can hear his audio. The administration, as you heard, has promised an inquiry and said that they will look into all of this. But what is very shocking, Rajesh, seems to be the casual manner in which, shutting off something as critical as oxygen for a full 5 minutes is being discussed. And if you were to believe what is being said, then what has happened is very criminal and it does warrant a very serious investigation.
All right, Alok, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So this entire issue is now going to be investigated. Well, news now from Kerala. An FIR has been lodged against the BJP Kerala chief for allegedly bribing a candidate into withdrawing the nomination ahead of the assembly election. This is against the state president, K. Surendran, for allegedly offering money to his namesake rival candidate, K. Sundara, contesting from the same constituency. Let's go across to Sneha for more. All right, K. Sundara has claimed that he was paid 2.5 lakhs to withdraw candidature. The police has filed a case now against the BJP's K. Surendran in this entire matter. Well, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll get you the latest on Mehul Choksi, the Dominica High Court to take up his bail plea today. Will come up in the Dominica High Court, where he has claimed all this. He's claimed he never entered Dominica illegally from Antigua. In fact, he was kidnapped from Antigua and brought to Dominica. India, remember, is hoping to get Mehul Choksi back to India, be able to deport him from Dominica. Well, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. We'll get you more news on the other side. Welcome back. Now, our special campaign, Vaccinate India, in partnership with Google. And we're discussing questions that many of you have about vaccines, about COVID, questions that you look up online, that you often Google. Joining us to answer those questions is Dr. Yatin Mehta, Chairman, Medanta Institute of Critical Care. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us this morning. And I know a lot of these questions we keep repeating to you and, asking you in different, during our discussions. But one of the questions that comes up again and again is, are COVID vaccines safe?
Gargi, this was raised when some vaccine was released after only phase 2 trial and not phase 3 trial. But I think so far all the vaccines which are DCGI approved or which are FDA approved are absolutely safe. Now, there is not, as I tell some of my patients, that there is no drug in the world or no medication in the world which has zero side effects. Okay, so the complications would be a few in a million, which is very, very rare, which are mostly treatable. And if you look at the risk-benefit ratio of not taking the vaccine and getting the disease, or taking the vaccine and being 1 in a million to get a complication, I think it is worth it to take the vaccine. So I would advise everybody, unless there's a medical reason not to take the vaccine, please vaccinate, all of you.
Right, absolutely. And it's been months now of the vaccines being used, and crores of people have been vaccinated so far. And if we talk about any sort of adverse effect, it's been very, very few, like you said, Doctor, 1 in a million.
Absolutely. I mean, even the risk of thromboembolism, which was attributed to Covishield, is, I think, 6 in a million or something like that. It is very, very rare. And we really haven't seen. Some patients do get the COVID despite taking both the vaccines, but that's also not that common. And if they get it, it is generally very mild disease. So I think this will be like a flu rather than a severe respiratory illness. So I think even then it is worth it taking it.
Right, and we keep discussing this with you, but this is an issue that we really need to take, across the country, even in rural areas, smaller towns, because there's still a lot of vaccine hesitancy being seen there.
I mean, this is partly illiteracy and partly misinformation. So again, please, most of 99% of the people would qualify to get the vaccine. Only 1-2% would have some medical contraindication not to take the vaccine. So I think they must take a vaccine because that's the only shield. Safe distancing and COVID appropriate behavior has to be maintained, but vaccine is the only medication which is likely to save you.
All right, that brings us to the second often asked question online and often Googled question is the COVID vaccine effectiveness. What would you say about the effectiveness of the vaccines?
See, any vaccine which is released by the DCGI or by the drug authorities has to have at least 65% efficacy. So they are effective. Otherwise, they will not be approved. And de facto, the efficacy is almost about 90% plus. So after the second shot, it becomes about 90%. Between first and second shot, it will be about 60%. So I think it is really worth it. Most of the vaccine, now the range would vary from 85 to 95%. These are all statistical number crunching. But basically, all the vaccines are quite efficacious and effective.
And Doctor, you mentioned about the breakthrough cases. If you could just tell us a bit more about that even after getting vaccines, you have to continue, practicing all the COVID protocols.
Yes, that is what happened. In most of the cases who get it after the second, they think they've got a vaccine, so they are completely protected and they will drop their masks, as they say. So that is what has happened. They have completely let down their hair and they've just roamed around freely in crowded places and given up all the COVID appropriate behavior. So there is no foolproof 100% vaccine which is invented as yet. So this methodology should continue of safe distancing and gloving or hand hygiene and masking has to continue till some new guidelines come out.
And now with the talk of the new variant, the Delta variant that is becoming the dominant variant in most parts of India, and it being different from what the vaccines, the variant for which the original COVID virus for which the vaccines were planned for. There's a lot of talk about how effective the vaccines are against this and any sort of escape by the variant.
No, that is a genuine concern. And now recently an ICMR paper has come out. I think it's yet to be published, but I have reviewed the paper. And they have come out that the part of this Delhi surge could be attributable to the Delta variant. I mean, leave aside the social behavior of the Delhi public, but Delta variant was attributed to the COVID surge in at least the Delhi and NCR region. That is, genotyping was done to the virus, and that was a given. It is known that the Delta variant is more infectious. That means it will spread more to more number of people. So the earlier variant of Wuhan was a 1.2 and this is almost 2. So twice the infectivity. It will spread to twice the more number of people. Regarding whether it was more serious, whether it is more serious or not, whether it will kill more people is yet to be shown. But yes, Delta variant was responsible for more spread, and Delta variant can at times, I think the hypothesis is it can escape the vaccine, the antibodies generated by the vaccine. So it may be able to fool the antibodies, and that means the vaccine may not be as effective. But then what choice do we have at the moment? Vaccines is the only protection.
And the main issue is it protects you from severe disease, and that is what the big protection that vaccines provide us is. Thank you so much, Dr. Yatin Mehta, for speaking to us. Well, vaccinations for the specially abled is one of the most important challenges that we are facing right now, and hospitals like the R.N. Tagore International Institute of Cardiac Sciences is stepping up to vaccinate the most vulnerable. Here's a report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for what, if I can ask you?
Vaccine.
Thank you for the?
Vaccine.
You're happy to get the vaccine?
Yes.
Vaccinations in India have been a challenge because of the shortage in supply. And for the specially abled, it's an added worry. Dr. Rajiv Ghoshal says bringing his child to a special vaccination drive for specially abled children was helpful.
Differently abled kids are more prone
to get COVID-19 than a normal kid. That is what research says. So it is all the more important. And it's a great gesture by both Pradeep School as well as Rabindranath Tagore Hospital to get them vaccinated en masse at one place.
Special arrangements were made on Sunday for the vaccination process in familiar surroundings for these children at the Pradeep Center for Autism Management.
Yes, I have an autistic child.
How does the vaccination process go?
Well, here in Pradeep School, I am also a staff member of Pradeep School. I am a teacher in charge of Pradeep School. And my daughter has been here in this school for the last 18 years. So she is quite habituated to this environment and atmosphere. So it was not a problem to get her vaccinated in this known atmosphere also.
Dr. Devi Shetty, founder and chairman of Narayana Health, has started the initiative so that everyone has access to affordable vaccination.
We already had an initiative of Take One, Give One as per our NH policy, which our chairman has initiated. For these children, it was very important because they are not wanting to wear masks. So to protect them was a very important initiative, and when the Pradeep Autism Center approached us for their vaccination, we were all the more happy to take this initiative and do it for them.
According to experts, the third wave of the COVID pandemic will hit children the worst. And for specially abled children who are more vulnerable, vaccination is important. And this initiative addresses that very issue.
The initiative is also taking vaccination to the slums where people simply cannot afford to pay. 33-year-old Mithun Roy has been sitting at home for 3 months. He needs to return to work and was struggling to get a vaccine.
এবার হোটেল সংস্থায় কাজ করতে গেলে আমাকে তো প্রপারলি ভ্যাকসিনটাকে নিতেই হবে। তো এটা যেহেতু আমার ফার্স্ট ডোজ ছিল, সুতরাং আমার কি করতে হবে, এটা তো আমাকে নিতেই হবে। ওই জন্য আমাকে নিলাম, না নিলে তো আমি জয়েন করব কি করে, কেন টানা 3 মাস হয়ে গেল বসে আছি, মানে খুবই অসুবিধা হয়ে যাচ্ছে। তো তাড়াতাড়ি করে তড়িঘড়ি করে যাতে নিতে পারি ওই জন্য নিলাম। তবে এখানে এসে দেখলাম যে যেটা ভেবেছিলাম অনেক ভিড় এটা সেটা না, খুব সুষ্ঠুভাবে এরা পরিচালনা করেছে, আমার খুব ভালো লাগলো।
I am grateful to Narayana Group and R.N. Tagore Hospital that out of their CSR fund they have provided free vaccination to those who are below the poverty line, and they are here to give the free vaccination of 500 people.
Vaccination for everyone is the need of the hour, especially for those whom the vaccine might be inaccessible. And initiatives like these are ensuring that the vaccine reaches the most vulnerable sections of the population. In Kolkata with camera person G.D. Shankar, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Now, it's the third day when the Bihar government has not been able to supply the antifungal injections for hundreds of patients suffering from mucormycosis, or what we popularly call the black fungus, in Patna, though they have promised that supplies will be provided today.
हमारे यहाँ सरकार से मेडिसिन हम लोग को मिलता था हमेशा 400 लगभग 400-500 वायल लाइपोसोमल एम्फोटेरिसिन भी मिलता था, लेकिन परसों हम लोग को 200 वायल मिला और कल मिला ही नहीं। तो थोड़ी परेशानी तो हुई, मरीजों को, हम लोग को भी परेशानी हुई, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ भी लगभग 117 मरीज हैं म्यूकोरमाइकोसिस के। लगभग 550 वायल पर डे हम लोग को चाहिए, क्योंकि मरीज रोज आ ही रहे हमारे यहाँ, रोज नए मरीज भर्ती भी हो रहे हैं।
Well, let's now get you the latest on fugitive jeweler Mehul Choksi, who's in a prison in Dominica. His bail hearing will come up before the Dominica High Court. Meanwhile, he's also filed a police complaint in Antigua. Remember, he's been claiming that he was actually abducted from Antigua and brought to Dominica, whereas initial media reports claim that he was trying to escape to Cuba. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Anita for more on this story. Anita, it's all very convoluted and very interesting. He's also claimed there's this mystery woman who befriended him. He'd been friends with her for over a year, and it was in her presence that he got kidnapped. He claims he was abducted and she did nothing to help him.
Yes, Gargi, a lot of masala in Mehul Choksi's complaint, which he has filed before the Antiguan police. In fact, his wife has also been claiming since very beginning that her husband was abducted from Antigua and taken to Dominica. But as far as this complaint is concerned, he has named the mystery woman as Barbara Jabarica. He says that he had befriended her for over a year, and they used to go for evening walks. That day, on 23rd of May, she had called him home after after having a glass of wine. Then, there were like 8 to 9 people who had entered her house and tried to abduct him. And this lady, she did not help him in any way, which for which he feels that she was also cahoots with her, with his abductors. They brought him to Dominica. In fact, the abductors also told him that you will be meeting an Indian politician when you would be reaching there. In fact, in Dominica, your citizenship would be fixed and then you would be extradited back. Those are the claims of Mr. Mehul Choksi's legal team. Today, there is a hearing in High Court where the bail application is going to be heard of Mr. Mehul Choksi. But as far as the habeas corpus petition is concerned, that the magistrate, had already adjourned the matter for 14th of June. So that means in near future, Mr. Mehul Choksi is obviously not going to come back to India. Meanwhile, India is also taking legal help from a very noted lawyer, Mr. Harish Salve, who is helping Indian authorities. And if India is allowed to, participate in today's hearing, most probably Mr. Harish Salve would be representing India. He is a master, mind as far as all these extraditions are concerned. He has been representing India in various world platforms. So it's a big thing for India if he is going to represent India today in Dominica. But again, sources are telling us if India would be given a participation, then only he would be representing. But all eyes are set for today evening when his bail application is going to be heard. Gargi?
All right, so that's fascinating news that Harish Salve will be representing India at this hearing. But as you said, only if India is allowed to be heard during this bail plea. Thanks so much, Neeta, for joining us with all those details. Well, news now from the Lakshadweep, where a protest took place yesterday on the land and in water as well, where residents of Lakshadweep are saying no to the centre's diktat.
Despite the strict lockdown in Lakshadweep, strong protests. Local residents holding placards at their homes, shops or even underwater across the Union Territory during a 12-hour hunger protest against the administrator Praful Patel and his draft regulations that locals fear will forever change the way of life on the islands.
ദിവസവും നിയമങ്ങൾ ഇറക്കിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഈ നിയമങ്ങൾ ലക്ഷദ്വീപിന് തനതായിട്ടുള്ള സംസ്കാരത്തെയും അതിനെ പൈതൃകത്തെയും നശിപ്പിക്കേണ്ടതാണ്. ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റർ ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള നിയമങ്ങളുടെ പിന്മാറണം. ഒപ്പം കേന്ദ്ര സർക്കാർ ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്ററെ തിരിച്ചു വിളിക്കണം.
There are 4 specific draft regulations which allow the acquisition of private land for regional development, a Gunda Act that gives sweeping powers to detain anyone up to an year, a proposed ban on the consumption of bovine animals on islands where beef is a staple in the diet.
I strongly believe these people are misled by Communist Congress and NCP leaders. My humble request all of you, don't believe false propaganda.
The Lakshadweep administrator is yet to address these concerns directly, even as the locals are trying to get their voices heard. Access to them directly is even more difficult amid this pandemic, as well as the administrative permits that are required to enter Lakshadweep. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.